The folding kayak is a seaworthy vessel that can be disassembled and stuffed into a duffel bag. This boat-in-a-bag concept was developed in Germany a century ago. It's a good fit for the modern traveler's lifestyle because it can be stowed in a car trunk, checked onto a plane, or stashed in the condo closet. History has shown that when the going gets rough, the folding kayak doesn't fall apart. Adventurers have crossed oceans in them, and today its story continues to unfold. The kayak frame starts with parts cut from solid ash and laminated birch. For waterproofing, they dip them in marine-grade varnish 3 times, drying them for 24 hours between dips. A worker then rivets metal fittings to a varnished section of the keel board. It's these fittings that enable the folding kayak to move with the sea instead of against it. That's because they're made of an aluminum-copper alloy, a metal with a certain amount of give. He fastens more aluminum alloy fittings on the cross ribs. There will be a total of 7 cross ribs in this 2-seater folding kayak. The center 3 will carry most of the load, so they're made of 9 layers of laminated birch. It's super strong because, unlike solid wood, it has few knots or imperfections. He applies a label with a production serial number to a boomerang-shaped piece of the frame. This is how the kayak owner would actually assemble the boat on site. He locks 2 sections of the keel board together with the flexible fitting we saw installed earlier. He snaps the bow piece to the front and hooks rods into fittings installed on the bow. He fastens a couple of ribs to the keel board. The gunnels, which are the top sides of the boat, are next. He attaches one end to the bow and the other to one of the ribs. The bow and stern parts are color-coded, with red painted fittings for the bow and blue ones for the stern. All the parts fit together like a toy model. With both gunnels now attached, he's ready to install more ribs, the laminated birch ones that form the cockpit. He completes the assembly of rods. All these rods will give the kayak directional stability. He unfolds part of the kayak deck assembly, known as the coaming, and arranges it to surround the cockpit. He attaches it to the gunnels using metal clamps and fittings. He slides the 2 seats into place on the keel board, and he attaches the backrests to the gunnels. The frame of this folding kayak is now complete and ready for its custom-made skin. Over in the sewing department, the seamstress traces the patterns for the kayak deck onto cotton hemp material and cuts along the penciled lines. This natural fabric will allow the deck to breathe and yet keep it watertight. It's now time to piece together all the parts, including 2 long sleeves for inserting inflatable tubes. Deflated, the tubes will create slack, making it easier to fit the frame into the skin. Inflated, they'll make the kayak virtually unsinkable. Once the thick layers have been stitched together, she's ready to insert the inflatable tubes. They were pumped full of air to be examined for holes, so she deflates them. She uses a long pole to extend her reach and push the inflatable tube into the sleeve. With the synthetic rubber hull now stitched to the deck fabric, the skin is complete and ready for the kayak's wooden frame. This particular model has been painted black. If the fit is even slightly off, the kayak won't perform properly. This skin fits like a glove. He brushes glue onto the tips of the bow and stern, and then presses molded rubber bumpers onto those areas. The bumpers will protect the ends of the hull casing, which take a lot of hard knocks. In total, it takes about 50 person-hours to make a folding kayak. It should take the owner about 15 minutes to disassemble or assemble one. For some, it will become a traveling essential, part of the luggage on any trip.